طبتم وطابت أوقاتكم بكل خير أينما كنتم، ونرحب بكم في هذه الندوة الافتراضية تحت عنوان تمكين التعليم الرقمي باستخدام الذكاء الاصطناعي. ويسعدني أنا زيد الرقيب تقديمها لكم ممثلا للمركز الوطني للتعليم الإلكتروني من العاصمة الرياض بالمملكة العربية السعودية. الترجمة الفورية متاحة باللغة العربية، بإمكانكم الضغط على أيقونة الترجمة أسفل الشاشة. Greetings from the National E-Learning Center in the city of Riyadh, capital of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm Zaid Al-Ragib. We are delighted to welcome each participant to today's webinar on empowering digital learning with AI. In our rapidly changing world, digital learning has become a crucial factor in acquiring new skills. It bridges the gap between what we learn in school and the demands of the job market. Moreover, with the aid of digital tools, educational institutions can now offer personalized learning experiences tailored to each individual. Your presence here today clearly demonstrates the significance of digital learning in preparing us for the future. We are delighted to welcome the distinguished panelists, Ms. Tatiana Torres, founder of Tendencias Educativas and author of the book Artificial Intelligence for Teachers, Dr. Ali Al-Shamri, Dean of E-Learning and Distance Learning at University of Tabuk, Dr. Majdal Al-Qahtani, Assistant Professor at King Saud University and Consultant in Big Data and AI. We thank these distinguished speakers for joining us today. So without further delay, we hand over the virtual floor to Ms. Torres.
Thank you, and I'm super happy to be here. I'm from Peru, so we are really connected. I think this is a proof that we are learning in community. So today, I'm super happy to introduce at the beginning to Dr. Ali. We are going to be discussing how can we empower these digital learning experiences with AI. I think we are living really in a special moment in time. So Dr. Ali, welcome, and we can start listen to your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, Tatiana, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh jami'an. My name is Ali Al-Shamri. I work as the Dean of E-Learning and Distance Education at University of Tabuk, and my interests are around the use of captology, or the science of captology, which is the science of using technology to change people's behaviors or attitudes or values in a good way, of course, and rectify some of the misconceptions that some students may have about different topics. So that's what captology is, and that's what I'm really interested in. And also, I'm a computer programmer and serious game designer. So we design video games and serious games to achieve different objectives. So that's pretty much what I'm really interested in. I'm going to use serious games and serious game design as an example of the integration of AI later on my presentation. But in general, since I just started the panel, I would say that in today's technology-driven world, especially post COVID-19 pandemic, I think technology has become a must in our educational systems and also in our learning process. Used to be an option, but right now I think it's a must. And instructors, teachers, students, administrators, they all use technologies these days. And AI is right now, I can consider it as an option, but pretty soon I'm pretty sure it's going to be a must again for the next generation. But before we start our panel today, what is AI? What is the definition of AI? Now, if we have any computer programmers among the attendees here, I would say, and including myself, I'm a computer programmer, so I would say AI is just a bunch of if statements. So if X is true, then do this. Else, if Y is true, do this. Else, if Z is true, and so on. So that's my basic definition of AI. But I know many people define AI in different ways. For example, many people refer AI as a simulation of human intelligence in machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. But again, regardless of the way we define it, ChatGPT is just one example of AI. It's not like the whole AI. Anyways, back to Titania's questions. How are we going to integrate AI to enhance the learning process or educational systems? Many educational psychologists or many scholars in learning science in general, names, for example, David Merrill, Robert Gagne, Peggy Ortmer, Tim Newby, Watsons, and many people, I would say they consider, or they've been doing a lot of work on the term of personalization or personalized learning, which is the opposite of having one size fits all model. In personalization, I think it's very important to achieve or to use approaches, constructivist approaches, to give students what they need based on their prior knowledge, based on their pace of learning, based on their preferences, based on, I'm not going to use the term learning styles, I would say preferences, based on their speed of learning, based on their motivation and motivational moods. So in order to come up with customized materials for students, AI will play a significant role on that. So AI can come up with algorithms that can analyze individuals, students' performances and preferences, and also give them suggestions. Just like if you go to Amazon, for example, and try to purchase something, when you look for a product, sometimes you get suggestions based on your experience and other customers' experiences in the past. I think AI will help us also to get customized materials based on our needs, based on our students' needs. And also, this will help us to achieve better learning outcomes. And this is what AI is doing these days. We use AI in order to enhance the learning process and also to achieve better learning outcomes, especially when we improve students' learning, self-efficacy, attitudes, and also build their confidence. When we give them exercises, materials based on their prior knowledge, based on their needs, based on their preferences, we build their confidence. We tell them, we give them the materials that will enhance their learning process and help them to achieve better learning outcomes. If we have any statisticians among the attendees, we would see prediction will play a significant role in our students' academic performance as well. AI-powered tools will help us also to analyze our students' actions, our students' interactions with the materials, our students' answers, our students' behaviors, attitudes, and compare that to like the data that were collected from like previous students or previous patches, and also give us prediction. Like, for example, student X, based on your performance, based on your scores, based on your learning preferences, based on your interactions with different learning materials, you will get this, you will get B+ or A+ if you don't change your behavior. And this is based on the correlations and regressions that we predicted from previous students, previous classes. So prediction is also a very important aspect of enhancing the learning outcomes. And these days we see many people use big data in order to enhance the learning process and also to protect students who are at risk and give them like supporting materials to help them keep up with other students. Another example is personalized learning pathways, and we see this a lot these days when we see AI-powered tools that suggest for students, especially in high school, what majors to study based on their aptitudes, based on their skills, based on their scores in standardized tests, SAT or ASAT in the US, for example, or here, Qudurat and Tahsili, based on your skills, based on your scores, based on your behaviors, based on your aptitudes. These tools can suggest what majors that you can study and how are you going to perform if you studied that major. Sometimes we see some other examples like virtual assistants or tutors that can help you throughout the process of learning. Another big example, which will be the adaptive learning systems that we see these days integrated with other systems as well. Like learning management systems these days also use the adaptive learning systems. And adaptive learning system is a very important application of the flow theory. Anybody who is interested in the flow theory, the flow in education, it's a theory that was introduced by Csikszentmihalyi that talks about motivation, how to create a balance, like when you give your students a task, how to create a balance between anxiety, between presenting a difficult or challenging task and an easy task. So you don't want your students to feel like anxious, and you don't want them to feel the bored. So how can you make, or how can you come up with a task that has like a balance between anxiety and boredom? With the traditional teaching approaches that we have, I think it's very difficult because students have different individual needs. But when we have AI, when we introduce AI, we can come up with tasks that are adaptive to our students' prior knowledge and skills and needs. Then the task that can be perceived to be difficult for me may be perceived to be easy for someone else. So it depends on students' needs. Tasks may differ, may be presented differently. And I think that's also another example of how we can integrate AI to enhance the learning outcomes and to enhance the academic performance as well. Our educational system in general, they are either competency-based or outcome-based. Again, like the use of the leveraging AI to enhance our educational systems and achieve better learning outcomes, I think will be a very important tool for the next gen, for today's learners, and also for the next generation. I hope I answered your question. Back to you, Tatiana.
Yes, it's amazing, especially that now we can take less time to create personalized education. And is something that we are facing for the first time. Long ago, it took us weeks or days to create an activity. And now we have only minutes with, as you said, ChatGPT and other tools. So now we are going to welcome Dr. Mejdal. Welcome, Doctor. He is going to be sharing a huge presentation about AI. How can we enhance education? So hello, Dr. Ali. No, Dr. Mejdal.
Yes, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أهلا وسهلا جميعا. I'm not sure if is it clear? Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank National E-Learning Center to invite us to be part of this informative and insightful session. So today I will I will present a topic that is related to the ChatGPT in education. Specifically, I will focus on how the ChatGPT can empower digital learning. This is Dr. Mejdal Al-Qahtani. I will be happy to be with you today. So this is the agenda. So we start with introducing the AI. Specifically, we will discover, or we will explain what is the generative AI, and because this is the new trend worldwide nowadays. Also, we will go over the ChatGPT. What does it mean, and how, why, or what the structure of the ChatGPT, and how can the ChatGPT works. Then we will discover some of the application of the ChatGPT in education. We will cover some risk of using ChatGPT, and then we will end up how we can use ChatGPT today. So, first of all, let's start with what is the artificial intelligence, as Dr. Ali mentioned and explained. So the AI is the science and technology that enables, we are enabling the machine. The machine is, we can say, software, platform, computer, to perform tasks like require human intelligence through previous experience. What do we mean about previous experience? We are looking about data. So, and then we will end up with a machine that is able to do a decision, to make a decision. So, so this is very important. So the artificial intelligence goes through 4 stages in the journey. So starting from acquiring the data, and then start to learn and understand the pattern of the behavior hidden within the data, then start to understand, recognize, infer, and then end up with has the ability and the skill to make a decision. So this is what we mean about the AI. So the AI is composed of two words, artificial and intelligence. So artificial, it's a human-made. Intelligence, this is one of the ability of the human to make a decision. So what is the generative AI? So we can see, so the generative AI is part or subset of the AI. So the generative AI, the models that are trained on different type of data, and their main goal is to find the hidden data distribution, to be able to generate and simulate the new data again and again. It has the ability to generate data, okay, using AI, statistics, mathematics. All of this is kind of tools that is it can be used to generate a new data that has not been generated before. So the generative AI is able to do two main tasks. The first task is generating new data. It can be numbers, text, voice, video, signal. All of this data can be generated as a new data. And the second one, it can generate a new format of data. This is when we want to convert from text to image, voice to image, text to voice, and vice versa. So all of this, so we will have the ability to generate a new data. And why do we need, so the question here, why do we need generating new data? Okay, sometimes it's very important to generate a new data due to time and also resources constraints. So sometimes we don't have time to collect data. So once we know the data distribution of the data, we can be more efficient to generate such a data. Also, sometimes the collecting data, it's cost money and efforts. So by generating a new data, we will be able to save such an effort. And so what is that now ChatGPT? So the ChatGPT, it's mainly based on the generative AI. So the ChatGPT, it's a pre-trained generative artificial intelligence. What do you mean about pre-trained? So the model is already trained in a vast majority, or vast and a huge amount of data. So the model will be, it's able to understand the human language. So then there will be, so he was able, the model is able to generate a new text. So the ChatGPT has the ability to process and understand the language and the format to respond like a human. So this is the very important point. So the ChatGPT is not able only to generate a language that is correct, that is grammatically correct. It's able to respond to the question and is able to understand the question and provide the right answer. So this is very important. Also, the ChatGPT is not only responding to a question, is able to follow the sequence of the conversation. So if you mention something, it's like human. If you mention something at the beginning, it's still in his memory. So it's memorizing the conversation and the flow of the historic information that is already happened in the past. So it was developed by OpenAI at the end of November 2022, and is based on the generative pre-trained transformer GPT-3, which was announced back in 2020. So, and there is another version that was based on the GPT-4. It was launched in this March. So the OpenAI, the ChatGPT, or part of the OpenAI, it's a non-profit organization. It was bought by Microsoft, and at the time when it was bought with amount $1 billion. So now, after they announced the ChatGPT, after all the advance and research it has been done in the past, now the value of the company, it's exceed $30 billion. And you can see the value of those, and the value of the investment that happened in the past. So it trained the model with it was trained with the model with a supercomputer that has over than 285,000 GPU and 10,000. This is the CPU and also 10,000 GPU. So the model was trained in a huge amount of data. It's about 570 gigabytes of data, and it exceeds 300 million words. So the cost of that training, it's about $4.6 billion. So we can see there was a big amount of investment happened in the past. Now they start to realize the value of this investment. So we can see how the ChatGPT works is based on a pre-trained model. And this is the pre-trained. It can understand the language, the general structure of the language, how to able to write a response that is like a human. So then it was fine-tuned. With to convert the GPT to be able to deliver a conversation. So by fine-tuning that one, it was, and they announced the ChatGPT. So it's able to generate chat. So we can see there is, looking at the history from 2019, there are a lot of language model, large language model that was introduced until up to today. We can see the on the y-axis, it's represent the amount of parameter for each algorithm. We can see as time goes on, the number of parameter is increasing, and this is give us an indication that the models become more complex and complex, and they are able to understand also and act like a human and understand the human language. So now back again, after we have good understanding of artificial intelligence, the generative AI. So the question here is, how can the ChatGPT empower the digital learning? So I was looking at three parts of the, we call it is the learning ecosystem. We have a student, teacher, and also we have a learning process. So in terms of students, so the ChatGPT can provide personalized learning, meaning that whenever the student asks a question, so the ChatGPT is able to answer exactly that question. So it gives us the right question. So, and also even like if the student is not able to understand, he can ask the ChatGPT to make it simpler, to make it also, if the ChatGPT give a very long answer, he can ask him to give him more short answer. So it's become like you can customize the answer based on your needs and requirement and at your pace. Okay, so this is also, it's help them, it's to do the homework assistance. So it can support their doing, like, so here, so whenever you have a homework or you have like a project, so we usually start from brainstorming. So the ChatGPT, it's become like your assistance. You help you to generate new ideas and sometimes integrating two ideas together. Also, when you write something, you need to improve the writing structure. Also, if you don't have, even if you don't start writing, it's the ChatGPT will help you to provide you with the structure. How can you write? So this is a huge amount of benefits by using by ChatGPT. Also, learning support outside of the school or the university hours. So the ChatGPT is always available. You can ask him whenever you want to have a question, or you have a question comes to your mind. So you have the ChatGPT to help you. So also we have the teacher. So the teacher, it can help them to automate grading. Sometimes you have. So you ask you put the question, and the student answer. The ChatGPT is able to provide you with the right provide you with the right assessment. Also, creating a customized learning material. So there is now, I think, is the ChatGPT, or there are some tools that is help you to, even when you want to start building a lesson plan. So the ChatGPT is able to bring or provide you with the main objectives, and also it's going to provide some activities that you can do. Also, maybe some suggested quiz, some suggested like question to assist your students. So will be like, it's gonna short time, or it's gonna help the teacher to spend his time to the task that need human intelligence, such as empathy, such as like creativity. So this is, I think, that the repetitive task, the ChatGPT can help or do a very good job in saving the teacher time. Also identifying learning gaps. So this is also part of where the ChatGPT, this is mentioned about also, Dr. Ali mentioned how the ChatGPT is able to recognize the gaps, understand the behavior, the pattern of the students, his performance, so it can predict him with the right material to support him. Also the learning process, enhance the engagement, continuous learning. So the ChatGPT is always there 7 days a week, 24 hours. Whenever you have a question, just ask, and it's going to provide you with the right resources to learn. It will provide you with more practice question, and also it will support you in terms of improving your writing skills. Also, it's inclusive learning. So here is some of the generative AI tool to support education. You can see there a huge amount of apps and application that is based on the generative AI, and some tools is going to support the K-12. Some of them is the high educational students, so they can support them in studying, doing research, tutoring. So there is a story that one guy, he started to he's telling about his experience when he started to apply and engage with the ChatGPT, how his performance is increasing dramatically. It's a tutor. So he's helping you to enhancing your learning and explain those complex problems. So also in the assessment, lesson planning, content creation, there are a lot of companies, they are focusing on that one: reading, writing, language learning. So it's help you also to improve, enhance your second language, third language, also mental health and coding. So all of this, there are a lot of companies they are using or applying the generative AI. So this is also another, so I already designed it before. So the AI is able to help you in doing literature research, also writing assistant, grammar and paraphrasing, citation, illustration, also doing like data analytics, if your data is quantitative or either qualitative, doing or creating or generating a presentation, also Excel files, productivity. There are a lot of application is suggested under each area. So now so just the question is, it's very important to address what are the risks of applying a ChatGPT. First of all, is the data privacy and security. It's very important to be aware that you're not sharing your personal information, because you need to protect your personal information and maintain privacy. So also the quality of information. So sometimes the result of the information that is generated is not accurate or biased. You need to make sure to double check. Even the OpenAI, they are mentioning in their website, you need to double check on the information generated by the ChatGPT. Also the dependence on the technology. There are some risks. People, they start to not learn. If they have any question, they just put it in the ChatGPT, and so they will lose the way they are. So the way of critical thinking, like problem solving, those kind of cognitive skills, it's very important as a human. So we don't want to lose it. We want to see or look at the ChatGPT as a supplement, as supporting to our learning journey. Also equity concern. There are the ChatGPT. Not all students, they have access to the ChatGPT. So we have to make sure that the students also have such access to those tools to enhance their learning. Assessment limitation. The AI is able to assist part of the question or part of the the assessment. So this is also very important. So sometimes, you know, if it's multiple choice is able to answer some quick or easy question, they can able to but some of the complex problem, we need a human to assess those kind of needs, subjective assessment. Also lack of personal touch. So the ChatGPT is still, it's not a human. So sometimes many cases need some emotion, some empathy, where the teacher or the human teacher is able to deliver, and the ChatGPT or the generative AI is not able to do. So I'm recommending to try, give it a test, see how you can download the ChatGPT. So the ChatGPT is not, we don't have access in Saudi Arabia. So I'm suggesting, recommending downloading Pro. And also you can see on the left side, we have the ChatGPT. Also we have GPT-4, which needs maybe you need the specific access. But anyway, you can start to ask question either in Arabic or English, and you can see how the ChatGPT is very smart to answer your question. So you need to learn also how to write a prompt. So how to write a prompt, how to have the question that is able, where the ChatGPT is able to understand your question, starting from asking maybe you can write act as putting a specific role, and then create a task, and then so what task you are looking for, and also show it with a specific format. So this is so the final message that I want to convey is that the ChatGPT or the generative AI or the AI itself is not a replacement of the human teacher. So the goal here is is a new tool, emerging technology. We need to look at them as a supplement, as a supporting, so that the teacher is able to save his time and to focus on the tasks that need creativity, empathy, that need some innovation in teaching. So for sure, I was happy to be with you today, and hope to provide informative presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Majdal. We have Mr. Scott Meyer, who has joined the session. He faced some technical issues, so we appreciate his dedication. Mr. Meyer is the founder of ed3.GG. At ed3.GG, he consults, podcasts, and writes a weekly newsletter helping thousands of educators and business leaders understand how technology can change how we learn and teach. His 5min.ai YouTube videos, newsletters, and courses help educators and business move AI from a novelty to an essential tool in daily work. Mr. Myers, the floor is all yours.
Hello, hello. Great to be here, and so excited to be talking on this topic. I'm so thankful for my colleagues here to be sharing, and for flexibility as I get logged in. This is an important topic for educators and for everyone. And what I wanted to share is a few frameworks that we can think about when using AI, things that will help you no matter how you use it. And if you're using it in the classroom with students, some things to consider. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here and tell you a few kind of thoughts that we should be having as we think about AI. I'm answering questions in the chat, so definitely put in those questions in the Q&A because there's a lot to discuss. So one of the questions that we had right away, and I know everybody has this, is what do we do about cheating? What do we do about using ChatGPT? And it's been fascinating to watch the development. So you can see here the kind of colors of how ChatGPT has performed on different exams. So you can see the blue is how ChatGPT 3.5 did on different exams in the United States. And then the green is how it improved with the next version. And the pace of this change is just breathtaking. And as you might expect, there's pushback, right? And it's nothing new. So here's an image from 1988, math teachers, protesting against the use of the calculator. And today people are doing the same thing, thinking about, should we ban this? How do we check for cheating? How do we make sure that people are using it correctly? But this is an opportunity for us to actually be more human. I'm really excited about the power of AI to enable teachers like you to spend time doing the things that AI can't do, right? Connecting with students, having discussions, bringing useful information in. And ChatGPT is something that people have access to in a number of ways, not just ChatGPT, but also through Bing. And so if you're in a country that doesn't have access, your students can still use that. And so what AI and ChatGPT are forcing teachers to think about is how do we move our classes from a passive experience to a more active one? So we know that active learning, or what you might call flipping the classroom, is often a more effective way to learn, where students are actually having the discussions in class and then doing some of the writing or the homework at home, right? But it's actually quite hard. So one of the frameworks we want to think about is using AI for ACT. We want to use AI to first adapt what we're doing in the classroom. So this would be creating active learning for our students, which just means having them ask questions about their ideas and getting feedback. AI is the best debate partner you could think of. It's going to show you the weakest parts on an essay. It's going to ask you questions you might not have thought of. So it's a really good way for students to first think about what they're reading or learning at home, and then bring it in the classroom and get feedback. Second, we want to think about how AI can help us connect. As educators, we spend a lot of our time grading. We spend a lot of our time, coming up with lesson plans, maybe even doing research, trying to find the latest academic papers. Those are all things that AI can now help us do more quickly. And third, we want to think about how AI can really help us transform our skills. So AI can really create a path for ourselves and our students to get them where they want to go. So instead of us telling students, here's the exact path that you need to follow to become a whatever profession or whatever skill, instead let them ask questions of what they need to learn and then go on their own paths. If the goal is to get them to a certain skill level, or to teach them how to write a good essay, or to teach them how to create some kind of social science project, there's lots of ways to get there. And AI will actually create paths that are maybe more relevant for students. So the way that I encourage teachers to get started with AI is what I call the 5-minute method, which is simply try it, apply it, and amplify it. So what the 5-minute method basically says is that first, as a teacher, it's important that you try out some of these tools. So we've been talking about ChatGPT. That's a really easy way to get started. There's a few others that I'll kind of show that you can test out. But first you have to put it into your own life and just give it a shot. And you can just spend 5 minutes doing this. So if it's ChatGPT, if it's going to Bing, if it's using something like Midjourney to create images, if it's using something like Merlin, one of my favorites, that'll summarize academic papers, or Chat PDF, where you can upload PDFs and ask questions about it. Those are all really good things that you can do within 5 minutes and get a sense of if it's something that is going to be helpful for you. Now, if it is going to be helpful, I ask you to spend another 5 minutes to apply it. So as you found the tool, then put it towards a use case. So try to create a lesson plan, try to create a piece of art, try to upload an academic paper and ask questions about it. That would be an example of, after you've explored the tool, is actually putting it towards the use case that you're going to use. Finally, if you find that the use case is as helpful, then you want to share that or amplify that with your colleagues and your students. So what I have found is that trying to explain how to use an AI tool to someone is one of the best ways for me to learn how to use it. Because immediately you get questions, right? And can it do this? What about that? Have you considered that? And so this is a great way for you to actually learn. It's that old adage that we know that the best way to learn is to teach. And so I encourage you, as you learn about some of these tools today, to really try to use the 5-minute method. Now, regardless of what AI tool you're using, an important framework for us to have as AI engineers or conductors is what's known as the AI sandwich. So the AI sandwich, basically, you can think of a sandwich or a hamburger, right? And the very top layer of the bun it starts with a human. And so a human needs to first ask the question. That's where you set the context and make the request. So that's kind of the top layer of the sandwich. Then AI is going to go generate answers based on that context and question. After it's created that content, you are still going to have to edit and share. And so you can kind of think about this as a 3-step process. And I think one of the mistakes people make with AI is they expect to ask a question and get the right answer. But AI is much more of a dance or a dialogue, where you're going to ask a question, AI will share some information back. You'll take that information and edit and improve it, and maybe ask another question with it, and continue so on and so forth. And so we can think about not doing what's called one-shot questions, where you ask one question and expect an answer, but instead multi-shot. And so as we've heard about some of these AI tools from my colleagues today, the best ways to use them is not going to be asking one question, but asking small questions along the way. So a great example would be with a lesson plan. if you're going to create a lesson plan, instead of saying, create a 60-minute activity for my students to learn about the water cycle, it's going to give you probably a decent result, but there's a good chance that it'll go off a little bit, maybe hallucinate, or maybe give you ideas that aren't exactly right. So a better example would be to tell the AI, we're going to create a 60-minute lesson plan. First, give me the first 10 minutes that's going to get students learning about the concepts. And then after it gives you the answer, you can edit those and then ask it again. Now, the second 20 minutes, let's do a hands-on activity. What would be some ideas we could do for that? Then you can pick your favorite one. And then you can say, the third one, let's have some assessment where students look at each other's projects. What would be some ways to do that? So by giving AI smaller, shorter tasks that we can string together, we're going to get much better answers. And I think about AI kind of like, a dog or a puppy that really wants to make you happy. It's going to keep trying to do whatever you want. And so the more that you're able to give it an idea of where you're headed, the better the answers will be, which is why we need to think of another framework known as the RIPE method. So we've had the 5-minute method where you actually try something, right? We have the AI sandwich, which is how you kind of think about using AI as more of a multi-question experience. The RIPE method is how you can ask a question to AI in an effective way. You might have heard of this as prompt engineering, but this is basically just how to ask good questions to get good answers on any AI tool. This could be on Bard, on ChatGPT, on Midjourney making art, on ChatPDF to look into academic papers. So the RIPE method has 4 steps. It's the role, the instruction, the parameters, and the examples. So with the role, what we want to do is tell AI who it should be, because AI can act as anyone, right? It can tell you a joke in the style of a certain comedian. It can talk to you as if you're a 5th grader. It can talk to you as if you're an academic. And so we want to make sure we tell it how to behave. So an example of this might be you are an expert instructional designer, right? And we maybe even want to tell it what the output should be. And so we maybe would say you're an expert instructional designer creating content for a 5th grade level if you're teaching 5th graders, or a university English class if you're teaching a university class. The instruction is going to be the actual question that you ask AI. So that's telling AI what to do. So we're going to create a lesson plan on the water cycle, right? But then the next 2 steps are the ones that I think most people don't include that are really important. The first is parameters. So we want to tell AI, where are the limits? What are the things it should not do, or maybe how should it respond? So you're an expert instructional designer. That's our role. Creating a lesson plan on water instruction. That's our instruction. We want to write it at a 5th grade level with the visuals and analogies. That's our parameters, right? We're telling it how to create that output. We might want to say things like, do not include information about, geology, right? Or we want to say things that maybe should not include information on. And then the last thing that makes a really big difference with AI is actually showing it what it should look like. And so if we already have a lesson plan, that would be a really good thing to include. So you're an expert designer creating a lesson plan on water cycle written at a 5th grade level with visuals and analogies. Please create the lesson plan to look like this previous lesson plan I had about the life cycle of dogs, right? And I could then just copy and paste my previous lesson plan right into AI. And then when I ask it for this, it's going to give me a much better answer. So I always tell teachers that you have a wealth of information to give AI, to train it. This might be old emails you've written, right? So one of my favorite uses of AI is just helping to write emails better. And you can say, create emails that look like this, and go to your outbox, things you've sent, copy and paste it in. And as you ask it to write emails, it's going to be better because it's going to write similar to you, not just like a robot. If you're a teacher, you can put in lesson plans or discussion topics or projects you've created before, and then AI is going to give you ideas that sound like you because it's training on what you've previously done. So the RIPE method is a perfect way to think about using any AI tool. Regardless of what it is, this is going to be a really good framework to create good questions. So I'll kind of wrap up here with a few of my favorite ways that I've seen teachers use AI, and then we can dive into any other questions and make sure that we hit all the topics that's needed. So first, I think about AI as a great way for teachers to find examples and explanation. So if you think about the classic Harvard business case study, there's not a lot of them out there, right? So the case study where you had say, this is a business, here are the problems they face, what can we learn from it? this is a really great way to learn in the age of AI, where plagiarism or cheating is an issue. So ChatGPT 4, which is the latest version of ChatGPT, has been shown to basically not be detectable. Any kind of tools that are claiming to detect plagiarism or cheating are basically ineffective now, according to Ethan Mollick. And I put his blog into one of the questions, oneusefulthing.substack.com. He's an educator at the Wharton School in Pennsylvania in the United States, and writes frequently on AI, especially in higher education. And he's done some research on kind of plagiarism and shows that it's not detectable. And so, people selling plagiarism products, it's probably not something that's going to work very well. And regardless, students are going to have to do just a little bit of tweaking to make it totally impossible, right? And so one way we can solve for that is by using AI instead to come up with new case studies that students then have to answer in the classroom. And so they might go study a concept, maybe in, I used to teach entrepreneurship in higher education, and they might go get a case study of a business that faced a challenge of disruption, right? Do we create a new product, or will we just keep building what we've done before? Now, in status quo, I'm going to have to go maybe download a case study, find something people have taught before, very easy to find it, and maybe out of date, right? Like not that exciting. But I can ask ChatGPT for examples of companies in a certain industry, in Saudi, in a certain context, that have faced this challenge, and it can come up with an example that we can discuss. And we could even ask it for only real examples, only fictional examples, only examples that include certain aspects. So it's a great way to create case studies that then inspire discussion. Another way that I've seen ChatGPT very powerful in the classroom is just with explanation. And so enabling students to have time to ask questions to ChatGPT is a great way to include people who are maybe a little bit more shy, or in a larger classroom where you don't have time to answer all the questions, is actually giving time for students to ask questions on ChatGPT and then coming back to the class for a discussion, right? So I call this framework brain-write, brainstorm, brain share. So brain writing is just giving students, 2-3 minutes on their own to ask their own individual questions. And then brainstorming is actually coming together as a group to discuss. And then brain share is where you actually share out to the teacher or the large group about what you discussed or maybe found. So that's a really interesting way to kind of think about it, is almost taking a short pause for people to use their devices. Kind of think about it like in a math class, taking a time to use a calculator, right? It's sort of the same way. Another powerful way I've seen for AI tools, especially kind of text generators like Bard or ChatGPT, is creating lessons. And one of the tools that I like for this is called Knowledge. There's another one called Unschooler, and these are all tools where you can say what you want to learn, and it'll come up with materials for you from the open internet. So I'll put those links in the chat, and there's others out there, but essentially what you can say is, I'm trying to set up a lemonade stand. What do I need to know? And it'll come back with the lessons to get you there. Or I'm trying to be a biologist when I grow up. What do I need to learn? And it'll start pulling YouTube videos and websites and create those for you. Or you can take a video off of the internet as a teacher. You can say, I want to teach my students about this TED Talk, and you can upload it to a site like Knowledge, and it'll actually break that video into activities for your students. So it'll make flashcards for you. It'll stop the video at certain points to have quizzes. It'll have discussion topics. So essentially what you can do as an instructor is grab material, throw it at Knowledge, and then have lesson plans built for you. So that's a really powerful way. Cool. So I know that we are going to go next to my colleague who is in Peru. And I think one of the things that I love hearing from different colleagues from around the world is that this technology is really having a global impact. And so I'm excited to welcome my colleague Tatiana Torres from Peru, who has used artificial intelligence in higher education, private teaching, and more. I'm going to go ahead and be in the chat, so definitely put in any questions and answers you have, and then I think we'll come back for more questions as needed. But excited, Tatiana, thanks for coming, for being here, and I think we can just kick it over to you.
Yes, I'm super happy, as I mentioned before, because I'm going to be sharing some of the things that I normally use in my class. I'm also a teacher and a mom, and it is really excited for me to create experiences in a more entertaining way. I'm also a TikToker, That's why I learned that to use this mix between entertainment and education, or entertainment and learning. And this applies perfectly with AI tools. So if you let me, please, Scott, to share my screen, I can show the presentation that I have. Great, thank you. So I'm going to be sharing how to use artificial intelligence in higher education. I'm a higher education teacher for more than 3 years now. And I have also a master's degree in virtual education in Peru. I'm super bad writing books. And when AI came to my life, I was able to create an ebook called Artificial Intelligence for Teachers in Spanish. I also create and write more often. That's how I develop a community of teachers with more than 40,000 teachers around the globe, especially Spanish-speaking teachers. And I share with them all the new educational trends. So the first example will be, how can we create a lesson using mind maps and AI? For this, we are going to use some tools like ChatGPT, MindMeister, who is a MindMeister is a mind mapping platform to create mind maps online. And then we are going to use something called presentation mode, because we can't only rely on slides. We have different ways to share the information, and that's what I'm going to show you. So the first step is creating a prompt. A prompt, as some of my friends here share, is basically the text command that you are going to type in ChatGPT to get an answer, right? Then we are going to have the answer. So as Scott mentioned, we have to create the AI sandwich. Basically, as teachers, we are experts in our topic, right? So we are going to see the results, maybe edit, research, or change a little bit. I try to call this the skeleton of my class, because I have ideas that I can improve and work further. So what I do after that, I copy the information in my mind map. I'm going to show you how to do it. And then we are going to use presentation mode. So right now I'm going to show you how this works. Basically, what I have here is step number 1. I open ChatGPT and I ask a simple prompt. I said, I'm a certified virtual teacher, just to give the AI a little bit of context about myself, what I teach, in this example, digital marketing. And I ask, my university has asked me to create a class called Business Model Canvas. So this is the topic that I'm going to teach. I also mentioned that my class should last 2 academic hours. And I ask at the end if ChatGPT can help me to create an agenda using bullet points. So this is the result. This is the title of my lesson, Business Model Canvas. And what ChatGPT create here is 2 parts. Academic hour 1, I'm going to be talking about these topics. And for the last part, these topics. So what I do here is open my mind map. I use MindMeister. It's free. You can have up to 3 mind maps for free. Then you have a paid option too, but it's optional. And I want to pay attention to this part. It's important thing. So this is the outline mode. If I click here, I can change between a mind map and outline mode. So what I'm doing here, just to save time, I already doing this exercise. I copy and paste from ChatGPT. As you can see, here is the title. So here's the title, but I didn't stop here. As you can see, as teachers, sometimes we get boring titles like introduction to that topic, definition, the importance of, and to me it's kind of boring. So I asked also ChatGPT, hey, let's be creative, add compelling titles, make each one attractive. Because I'm teaching marketing, like I can start with an introduction for that topic, the concept of that topic. I prefer to be creative. So what ChatGPT gave me here is a new title, but a more creative one. And each subtitle have the same thing, like more entertaining or interesting names. So I can work with this. That's, I copy the title and then paste it here. As I'm an expert, it means it's not my first time teaching this topic. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to business model canvas, right? Because we as teachers know what we are saying and we research, we are familiar with the topics. So it's pretty easy to notice when something is wrong. And if we are not sure, we can search for it, but never assume that ChatGPT gives you the right answer. Always double check. That's the take here. So basically, I double check and copy and paste only the titles. Okay, so I copy and paste here. As you can see, I have two parts, part 1, part 2, as ChatGPT told me to. And then I have subtopics and subtopics. So everything that ChatGPT gave me, I copy and add here as an outline mode in my map. So when I click back here and change to a mind map view, I already have the mind map ready. And then what it follows, as I mentioned here, right? I open my Meister in outline mode, and I also open Bing to create pictures. So if I want to present this mind map to my class, I only click on presentation mode, and I can use it as a slide. As you can see here, I have the topics. I can start teaching the topics, and every picture that you see here is created by AI using Bing. So I try to create pictures and just maybe wonder, what kind of pictures are you creating? So what I did here is I continue the conversation in ChatGPT, and I said, okay, now I have creative titles for my class. Now try to add captivating visuals examples for each bullet. So basically, let's say for this bullet point, this is the idea that ChatGPT told me to do for my visual. So let's say we are talking about unraveling the magic of the business model canvas. And as a visual, it says you can create an image of a person holding a light bulb representing the idea generation. And for this title, this is the picture that AI generated. So we can combine ChatGPT, we can use AI for create pictures. And also, we are in this part now. Example number 2, what we can do to make our class more interactive is create AI avatars, just to be more interactive. And everyone here mentioned about the personalization of learning. And this is what you can do now. Let's say just ChatGPT, you can create a script or maybe create your own script. You can create a picture or image with AI. You can use, let's say, Lexica or Midjourney, and then you can use the ID for create an animated video. That looks like this. But I want to go a step beyond that. And what you see here is a combination of tools. As teachers, I'm starting to notice that we can create workflows. Scott is pretty famous for that word. Workflow means you can use different tools to create pretty professional results and experiences. I'm going to share how this works. So let's say I have here my mind map. I'm going to zoom out. You can see here all the mind map is ready. Remember that we copy and paste the information, only the titles, because as teachers, we're going to teach the class because we know the topic. We only want to use creative tools. If I click here, I also can show full screen pictures. The same here. And let's say I already finished part 1 and I want to teach part 2 and create a group activity. So when I create this group activity, I actually learned this from a UK teacher called Dan Fitzpatrick. I create this. This is a 360 picture. So my students can go here, and as Scott also mentioned, you can create realistic examples and case studies. In this case, as a marketing teacher, I'm using my lesson topic is how my students can create a business model canvas. What is that? Well, in case you're not familiar with that, is this picture. So basically, the ability for any company or business to watch in only one picture all the key elements that you need for your business. So now, as an activity, continuing with this idea, I can say to my students, this is a cafeteria. You are going to create a business model canvas for this business. Let's assume, and if they click here on the little cafe icon, I'm going to share with sound so you can listen, also listen to this video.
Embark on a thrilling field activity to create a business model canvas for a coffee shop. Dive into the magical world of entrepreneurship as you uncover the coffee shop's concept, target market, and unique selling points. Join forces in teams to conquer the unexplored territory of the canvas, mapping customer segments, value propositions, and revenue streams. Bond with your fellow adventurers, discussing and refining your canvas to overcome challenges and find innovative solutions. Unleash your creativity, crafting an awe-inspiring visual representation of the canvas using Lucidchart or Canvanizer. Gather for the grand presentation, captivating the audience with your passion and storytelling skills. Remember, the adventure continues as the canvas evolves with your coffee shop's growth. Soar high as your shop becomes a...
So as you can see here, there is a virtual AI avatar explaining the activity. And if they click here, they also have the text version with the step-by-step process that they need to do to create a business model canvas with a real, let's say, example, right? I also create the name of this cafe, and I use ChatGPT to create all the scripts and the story. And what I love about AI is if I click here, let's say sometimes we have different types of learners, right? Some people prefer to audio or reading or video. So if you click here and you play.
Business Model Canvas Activity. Hello, esteemed student. Welcome to the exciting Business Model Canvas activity for our...
So we can mix styles of learning. Let's say students can read, can listen to the examples and all the adventures that they need to take. I can also create more complex scenarios to work with the students around this cafeteria. So this is just a little bit of everything that you can do with AI for higher education. So that's the point, right? Make it entertaining, make it compelling to students. And it only took me 1 hour to create this experience. So it's exciting to try, as Scott invite you to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. That was so wonderful and so much potential and power. So we are now at the stage where we can take questions. There's been quite a few in the Q&A that we've been answering. So I want to share some of those live and then also get my colleagues to kind of weigh in on a few of them that I've seen. So if you haven't asked a question yet, please go ahead and do so. And I believe these slides will be available as far as I know. I know that was one of the questions. And I know Tatiana and myself and my colleagues are happy to answer questions afterwards if you reach out via social media or email. So some of the questions that I thought were very interesting that I could get our colleagues' feedback on was, do we think that AI is going to be an essential part of teaching? Is it going to be something that teachers are going to have to learn in their training or maybe when they're studying? So maybe Dr. Al-Shamari, you could start and give us a quick thought on where you see this going for teachers.
I think that's a good question. Yeah. And I think back to Dr. Al-Khattani's comment, and I think I keep hearing this question from time to time, will ever AI replace teachers? Will technology replace teachers? With the things that we can learn from AI, will they ever replace our jobs? I would say the answer, which is obvious, no. However, I think that teachers who know how to deal with AI will replace teachers who don't know how to use AI. So I think it's a very important aspect of professional development courses that we have to offer for our teachers and also our I would say students. We need to make sure that teachers know how to deal with ChatGPT and with AI in a professional way. I think, Scott, you mentioned also some of the main concerns and main considerations that some people may have about the use of AI in education. For example, many people or many instructors or teachers think that students will use them in an inappropriate way, like, for example, plagiarism. Like asking ChatGPT to write answers for their homework or writing essays on their behalf. And instead of preventing that, I would say maybe it's time to teach our students how to use ChatGPT or how to use AI in a proper way, in the right way. We need to tell them, like, ChatGPT will never be able to give you like a scientific research, scientific study that you can just give to your or present to your teacher. It's a language model. I would say it's just a large language model based chatbot that will generate a text that looks like the answer that you were looking for, but you have to check the validity and reliability of the sources. You have to double check all the information, have to do like fact check and to make sure that the information that were presented in the answer are accurate. So again, I would say yes. I definitely believe that teachers have to learn how to use AI, not only ChatGPT, but like the great tools that, Scott, you presented in your slide. How to create presentations, how to create interactive videos, how to come up with attractive visuals. So AI is not only like, give me a prompt, I will send you like an answer. It's kind of like a very comprehensive framework that you can use, just like Tatiana, for example, presented like a very important framework, how she used AI to go over very interactive presentation and also to give her students a very personalized, let's say, content that will meet their needs. I hope I answered your question.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so let's get more specific. And Dr. Al-Khattani, I'll probably go to you with this one. So we've had a few questions on how to make this relevant for the Saudi environment specifically. So a couple things to throw your way. AI tools that work in Saudi. We know ChatGPT is not available. You can get the same technology with Bing, I know, and you can ask questions there, but there's probably other tools. And relatedly, someone was asking about what are the ideas to use AI in the field of education in Saudi Arabia now? Have you seen things that our audience in Saudi maybe will have particular interest in?
Yes. So this is a good question. So I see the students start to apply or use this technology in their daily life, especially in tutoring. So whenever they have question, concern, some complex problem they are not able to solve, they go to the ChatGPT, where the ChatGPT is always available for them anytime. They can type the question and they will get the answer. Even the ChatGPT, the main website is not available. I will already suggest other like the Pooh or other like Bing or other software where you can go there and you have access to the ChatGPT. So this is part of the part of the use in terms of the students, also in terms of the teacher. So the teacher, I'm seeing teacher now, they start to do or develop and design the lesson plan based on the ChatGPT. There are some tools that you just need to drop the video, and where you feel like this video is going to be your main video in your lesson. So the ChatGPT is able to convert all the text is in the video to be to extract the transcript, and then summarize the transcript and put it in the way it's become like a lesson plan, starting from the objective, then activities, then answer some question can be asked. So this is happens in a few seconds, and I think this is always, the technology is very important to make our service more protective, more efficient. So it's very, but this is why even the Saudi Arabia is investing heavily in building human capabilities. They have programs that is specialized in talent development, making sure that the kingdom or the citizen, they are able to learn those new technologies. They are able to develop themselves. This is digital skills. It has to be mastered by the citizen, starting from even the primary, from the primary education. So now there are a program or a national program that is targeting students in primary school, elementary school, also high school. We're starting from the early generation to make sure they are prepared for the next trend. We have also a national strategy for data and AI is published by SADAYA. So this is a roadmap for us as a citizen. So to make sure that when the new technology comes to the kingdom, the students, they are able to leverage this new technology and use it for to improve themselves and to be part of the change that is happening in the kingdom, especially that is related to the Saudi Vision 2030.
That's amazing. Yeah, great answer, and really exciting to see how this develops. I think my hypothesis is we're going to see AI become more specific and more relevant for local communities. Right now, general, the G in GPT is general, right? And so we have this general thing, but there's cultural context. And you can think about the answers it's giving you now is based on essentially the history of all the text on the internet. But we're going to need answers that are relevant for my community, for my area. And so I think we could start to see more verticalized AI specifically for business or for social science or for hard science, whatever it might be, or for Saudi or for Peru or whatever it might be. So that'll be kind of interesting to watch that develop. We had a question on resources, so I wanted to share a couple that were mentioned. I mentioned Ethan Malik. He's the professor. So check that out at oneusefulthing.org. That's a really great way to kind of see kind of a leading thinker on AI and education. I had mentioned Knowledge as a way to create learning tools, basically where you upload a video and you get a learning pack. So that's a great site to check out, knolej.io. We had a question on how to create a learning path So Unschooler does that, where you can say what you want the outcome to be, and it'll fill in the content. So unschooler.me is a great example there. I write lessons on using AI in education. So 5min AI is my site, and that could be a great one. Dr. Al-Qahtani mentioned Poe, P-O-E, which is where you can get access to that. We had someone in the chat asked about that as well. And then Bing, the web browser, is a great way to get access to some of those tools. So wanted to show a few of the things that people were asking to see kind of in the chat. So we have lots of great questions. Let's see if there's anything else. Well, Tatiana, let's bring you in here. You've taught teachers kind of across Latin America in multiple languages. Tell us a little bit about using these tools across cultural contexts and maybe some of the things that you've seen, and then we'll kind of wrap up with a couple final comments.
Yes, the word that is my favorite for that, actually a teacher shared that with me, is adapt. And that's what we are doing. Let's say in Mexico, every time I try to teach AI image generation, I try to create related pictures related with their food, with their culture, so they feel more familiar with that. So that's the point, to make it familiar in one way or another. You can create and adapt. As AI understand different languages, I always share with the students and with teachers, hey, I have an ebook here, is fully in English. And if you don't understand, you can upload that PDF into, let's say, Umata or ChatGPT and ask questions about that document that is not in your language, but AI understands all the document and can answer and give you the information in the language that you need to, let's say in Spanish. And it's amazing because in my case, I had to learn English from scratch. And some other teachers, especially in Peru, don't have the resources to learn another language. So now with AI, they can use these tools to translate, to read books in another language, even though they don't know how to speak it. So that's something that really blows me away.
That's amazing. Well, 15 seconds to each presenter. Want you to say one thing that stood out to you today that you hope people walk away with. So we'll start with Dr. Al-Shamari. If you want to share one thing that stood out in 15 seconds, then we'll go to Dr. Al-Qahtani and then Tatiana, and then we'll wrap up.
I would say AI is the current and next big thing. All teachers have to learn how to use it.
Amazing. Dr. Al-Qahtani, what do you think? What stood out?
It's the same message. So the AI, it's always is a supplement. It's a not replacement of the human teacher. As Dr. Ali, there will be a huge amount of importance to invest in learning those new skills. So because the teacher who has the skills, or the professors who has the skills, they will be more be promoted and also more selected than others who does not have. Thank you.
Tatiana?
AI is super fast, and your students are super fast people too. So you need to treat AI like the news every day. Read about it. Go to social media or places where people share about AI news and try to experiment with these tools. Don't be afraid. You are not going to break anything on your computer.
That's right. And I just would say AI makes us more human. So let's use it to come up with new ideas and new ways to help learners. There's a teacher shortage globally. And so this is only one more tool in our arsenal to help more people get great education. So thank you so much for hosting this event. I'll kick it back over to wrap up to the National E-Learning Center.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Today's sessions stand as a testament to the power of shared knowledge and engagement, and we are profoundly thankful for your presence. We trust that the insights discussed provided value to each of you. Our gratitude extends to Mr. Meyer, whose moderation skills navigated us through this webinar discussion, and to our esteemed panelists, whose expertise significantly enriched our dialogue. Equally, the active participation of every attendee has been integral to the success of this discussion. As we close, we turn our focus to continual improvement and growth. A survey link has been made available in the chat section, and we invite you to share your feedback and suggestions. This input is crucial as we strive to elevate our content and ensure future sessions are even more impactful. In conclusion, your time and attention have been greatly appreciated. We eagerly anticipate your participation in future discussions, where we will continue to explore exciting and relevant topics. For now, from all of us at the National E-Learning Center, I'm Zaid Rgeb. Goodbye.